this definitely brought a really good perspective for me. You could be a whole package, but if you deliver it to the wrong address, it's not going to work.
Let's start this thing, fool. Hello, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome back to Us a Duo podcast, a podcast where we aim to build better mindset for better relationships.
Yeah, and with relationships this week, we're talking about friendships. And it's something that we've touched a little bit on in the past about like friendship tiers, but this one today is more about, do we think forming friendships in adulthood, as in for us, we're in our 30s, do we think it's harder to form friendships now as opposed to before?
That's actually a good question.
I know, I come up with the best questions ever.
Relax there, mate. Relax there. But ultimately, I think to answer your question, I believe so.
Yeah. So why do you think that?
I believe so. I think that being in your 30s, you have set expectations, you have your wants and your needs, and sometimes when you're trying to find the right friendships, I guess your standards are quite high, and you set those standards quite high as well. So it's just about filtering the right people, meeting the right people, exposing yourself to those right people.
I think I have a mixture of both. Like I do feel like in some ways it's easier, but then in some ways it's harder. So I agree with you in terms of you do have higher expectations, but there's not really expectations. You just understand the type of people who you vibe with more, or the type of people who you are looking for, as opposed to back then where you're just happy to hang out with anyone and everyone, but you don't really form a real connection with them. You might just go to a party and you're happy to just hang out and drink and just have fun, but there's no real deep connection there.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think in a way where it's easier is that you've picked up and you've learned so many different cues where you can read body language, read what from what they're saying, what type of people they are. So it's easier for you to filter out the people who may not vibe with you. But I think it is harder in terms of actually finding a friendship and forming friendship. That is harder to do with also the variables of time and your work and extracurriculars and those type of things all have a play into it.
Yeah, you pretty much summed it up. So that's pretty good. No, I think the section about you saying it's easier, I definitely agree with that, because with life experiences, you know how to handle those situations. You know how to talk to people. Meeting different people is not the problem. It's really just, like you said, it's filtering out the right people. That's the hard part.
Yeah, and I say it's easier now as well. To add on to that is maybe back then, for me personally, it would be harder for me to say no to something, even if I didn't agree with it. I might just be like, yeah, okay, I'll come along, even though I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go, or I don't really vibe with this group. I'm just saying yes anyway because I either felt bad or I felt like I just needed to do it. Whereas now you definitely know that it's not something that you really want to do. And it's easier for you to just be like, nah, sorry, that's not my thing. Or maybe next time or something like that. So you've learned to build up that courage and just confidence in just saying no.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess a question for you is what type of friend do you think you are?
Good question. For me, I think I am a very low maintenance friend. We've mentioned this before in a previous episode.
Yes, we did. Yes.
And I'm just the type of person that you probably won't see me that much around. But when I do, I feel like I'm still that person where, well, at least I think I am this type of friend where you can still open up to me. You can still do whatever you did with me 3 to 6 months ago, and we'll still be exactly the same. That's the type of friend that I am. But in terms of how I am as a person in the room, I was just thinking about it and meeting new people. Say I'm going to a work event or just a new event, like someone invited me to their party and there's other people. I think I'm a person who kind of balances out the vibe. So if there's like a lot of people who are really hyped up, really just really energetic, like I wouldn't be trying to one up their energy or trying to match that, whatever. I'll just, trying to feel it out and balance it out. Whereas if it's a big room of people who are trying to be serious or very introverted, I'm just more calm in that way. I'm not trying to be like, hey guys, what's up, blah, 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 blah. Like you just kind of feel the room, and I'm trying to either match it or balance it out so that it's not, I guess I don't want to stand out.
True. And I guess my question for you is, what do you think I am?
No, you gotta answer for yourself, man. I ain't doing shit for you.
Yeah, look, for me, what kind of friendship am I? I think I am a person who I'm very loyal when it comes to friendships, but I'm very particular with who I'm loyal with. I'm someone that I need to filter that genuine relationship, that someone, right? So if I have a true connection and the connection is reciprocal, as in that person is showing the same thing as what I'm giving, then that's someone that I can basically vibe with. That's someone that I know I can trust. And I guess from a friendship point of view, with the loyalty, it's all about knowing that I'm there to help you. I'm there to ride or die. I'm there to talk to you if you need help with whether it's, career growth, personal growth, whatever it is. Even if I didn't really have too much experience, I'm still there to listen and talk to.
Yeah, I'm quite the same too. Like, I'm just very happy to listen. I'm more a listener than a talker in general.
I think I'm a bit of both, but I guess me as a person now, I'm more about that genuine relationship. Doesn't matter what you are, what you look like, whether you're black or white, yellow, whatever it is. I don't care. It's how we vibe together is what really matters to me.
What I said about myself, do you agree, or is there something else that you see in me as a type of friend?
No, I think you're quite accurate as to how you describe what you were or what you are now, right?
Yeah. Yours is also quite accurate, but I think also you're just I don't know, I feel like you're a very approachable person, no matter if it's like a new friendship, an old friendship. I feel like a lot of people just feel really safe talking to you. And it's very interesting because we did a human design with Jen a few episodes ago, and she also said that you have a very open aura, which is really cool because she doesn't know you. And just seeing that type of human design, how it matches how I've always seen you, that was pretty cool and chilling at the same
It's
time.
pretty cool, yeah, to see someone who doesn't know me to say, hey, this is what you are. It's it's pretty cool.
But while we're talking about this forming new friendships, what are some green and red flags that you would look for now in forming new relationships?
Green flags for me is, like I said, I'm very big on the respect and genuine.
How genuine they
Yeah,
are?
how genuine they are, right? So it's got to be reciprocal. So
But how do you tell? Like, what are some body languages or what they say?
it's a
Or
combination of body language and how they communicate. And yeah, there's people that talk but don't walk the talk. So I need to see that by just actions that they do.
Mm,
So like, and to give an example, so they'll say, "Oh, look, man, they're real happy for you for an achievement or something like that." But then on the flip side, when I see them at a different event or whatever it is, they don't really they don't show that.
mm.
You know what I mean? Like they just don't really want to be. They don't
They
really.
change the character a little bit.
Yeah. It's like they don't want to have a bar of really talking to you or anything like that.
Mm,
And to me, that's just not genuine. That's not like that's not a friend. You know what I mean? That's just like you've just said whatever you needed to say at that moment and at that time. But then now a month or whatever long time frame later, it's like it's totally changed.
yeah.
To me, a friendship, regardless of how long I haven't seen you, regardless of what's
Like
happened,
consistency.
it's got to be consistent. You know what I mean? For example, one of my really, really close brothers, and I call him a brother because
Brother from another mother.
I call him a brother because, we grew up family friends, but, he's always been there from the shit stuff that I've seen, passing of family members, and I've been there as well, vice versa. And it doesn't matter like how busy we are or if I don't see him like in a year or something like that.
Or he's working on a massive project and you're working on the podcast. Like you guys are just mutually there for each other.
We're still chill, we still talk, we still play games. We still, have that one-on-one conversation, even if he is busy in it, or if vice versa. It's still the same. The rapport is still the same. You know what I mean? The conversation is still the same. That to me is a true friend. A lot of people I hear say, friendship is all based on time that you know them. Well,
No, but I mean, like the green or red flags that you're looking for in a new friendship, though.
yeah. So I guess that was the first thing I would say, right, is the genuine aspect of the friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me now, one thing that's very different from what I didn't look for in the past is positivity. I would say I'm quite a positive person, like glass half full kind of person. So even if I'm in a really shit situation, I probably would find something to laugh it off with. I'd be like, oh, at least we've still got this, whatever. Like, and try and make people laugh. I just
Yeah.
feel like when I read the room, another thing about reading the room, and I can see that everyone's probably either a bit down or upset or whatever, I just naturally feel like I should make a joke or pull something out to kind of lighten up the mood a little bit. And I see that a lot. And I find that my energy is drained a lot with people who just pick on the negativity side of things. It's like, oh, this is so shit. Like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, why is it always me? Blah, blah.
So that's your red flag, right?
Yeah, red flag is, yeah, I just tend to lean away from that. And especially when I'm on crappy days, I just need a little bit more of like friends who may see things the same as me, whereas like picking out the small things that you can be grateful for. And that definitely lifts my positivity back if I'm like lacking a bit of that. So I can't have people, or just can't, for me personally, I can't be around people who are just too negative.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, especially if it's like a negative vibe and someone's always negative about anything and everything.
Yeah.
It pulls your feelings down, like your vibe check as well. Like,
And it's not saying that you can't be negative. There are days where you just feel really crap about certain something, but at least you can tell it's like their off day. But if they're constantly either bringing themselves down, like I think that's the big thing. They're like, oh, like you're having fun, and then someone's just talking about themselves and bringing themselves down. I'm like, why do you have to do that?
yeah,
It's very unnecessary, and it's just not good for your own mental health.
yeah, yeah. That's like, I would say that's one of my biggest ones as well. It's just the negativity, right? A green flag for me is someone who is humble, whether they've been lucky or they've rich or whatever it is. They're very down to earth in the fact that they're not.
Their character is still the same. Like they're still them.
They're still the same, no matter what has changed. And you're trying, like when you've got friends that are like, they're lucky for a certain reason, whatever it is, rich,
Or they've
avoided
worked their way
something.
up and now they've made it and stuff.
Yeah, and then they like apply that on you. It's like, oh, why are you not doing this? Or why are you not achieving like I am? And it's just like, well, dude, we're all on different paths in life. You do you, I do
Or
me.
they
kind of
don't
thing.
flaunt and be like, oh, I'm earning this much this month. Like, what about you? Or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's positive side. The green flag is they're humble. And then on the red flag side of things, it's like, well, don't flaunt your shit.
One other one to me that connects with people is just openness. Openness in terms of, I would say, it's kind of hard to gauge. You kind of have to learn this, but how people talk and how willing they are to share their personal experience. Like, I'm not expecting everyone to be like, oh, yeah, I've been through the same thing. This is what happened. But it's just like, if you happen to stumble across a conversation that kind of got a bit deeper, they're kind of sharing experiences and we're sharing each other, like just that vulnerability and opening up to talk about things. Whereas, like, I have met a few people across my life, or just going to events and talking to some people, you can tell, like, you can just tell from body language and how they reply to you. Some people are very closed off, which is completely fine, but like, there are just some body languages where people are very, you can tell they're a bit judgmental, don't want to open up so that they don't want to be judged either. Like, you can just tell that. And there's just people who are, again, just being themselves and just happy to share if they do want to share. Happy, like it's fine if they don't, but that kind of openness and not judgmental.
Another way to see it is the transparency. You know what I mean? Like friendships that have that open transparency, that open book kind of policy where it's like, hey, we can talk about anything regardless of what it is. You know what I mean? Whether it's about finances, whether it's about love, whether it's, I don't mean like straight away talking about those deep topics, right? It's the ability to be open and transparent
Mm.
because you're being honest, you're being truthful about the conversation.
I think one thing that I really enjoy when I meet new people as well is just how the conversation goes, and that is, I'm a person who loves to joke around, be very lighthearted in terms of conversations. But again, kind of linking back to just the openness, if it leads into a deeper conversation, they know how to just adapt to that and also talk about some deep conversations. And then that might turn back into a joke. Like we were talking about an unfortunate event and then we joke about it and that turns back into a joke again. They're very open and very easygoing, but also know when to be serious as well.
They know how to read the conversation depending on how serious it is, and then whether it's joking, and they can actually switch it up and be like,
Well, I guess
hey,
it's just overall easygoing.
yeah,
Like, and if you were talking about a deep, or they were talking about a deep conversation and you were joking about it, they won't be like, why are you laughing?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Unless I did offend them, that I understand. But I'm just saying, someone who's just so serious all the time, it's going to
Mm.
be hard to get along.
Yeah, that is true because then you know that you're not going to have fun with them, right? You know that you're not going to be able to banter and talk shit with them.
Yeah. Because I'm just that type of person. Like, I'll probably crack a joke here and then, and I'll continuously offend this person if they're going to be serious, which is fine. That's like they're entitled to be, that's how they are.
Yeah.
But for me as a friend, I probably wouldn't be the best friend to be around if that's how they are.
Definitely you need to have that fun, the ability to be easygoing in that friendship where you can just talk shit and know that, yeah, there's certain limitations as to how you talk shit, right?
Yeah. And the last one for me that I can think of at the top of my head is because you just met this person, and if they are already gossiping or talking about someone else or even their friends, like talking about their friends in a way where it's kind of talking about their character or damaging their character or trying to change how I'm seeing someone without even getting to know someone, then I'm like, okay, this person's probably not trustworthy.
Yeah, it could, like, that person could be someone that's talking shit behind each other's, someone else's back. Potentially could talk shit about you. I can see where you're coming from when it comes to
Those
that.
people I probably stay away from.
It's hard, right? Because I've had my decent fair share of having friends where they talk shit behind your back, and yeah, it's not a great feeling.
Was it like blindsided? Like you didn't expect them to talk around
Yeah, 100%.
behind?
Like, it's kind of like Two Face, right? In front of you, they're like all happy and dandy, and then behind your back, they're just fucking ripping shit on you.
But do you confront them? Have you been like, I heard this happened?
Yeah, there's been a few moments where I check them. I'd be like, and for me back then, I'm a very confronting person
Mm.
when it comes to situations where I find out things have happened, and I can be very upfront. And sometimes it's a battle, sometimes it's just a friendly conversation.
Have you ever had one of those where you confronted them and then they did change and then you formed an even better friendship?
No,
Uh,
nah,
okay.
never.
Theory has not
Unfortunately,
been
no.
proven.
No.
But from this as well, we were looking at what other people also talk about forming friendships in your adulthood. And we came across Mel Robbins, which is quite popular in the podcast
Yeah.
world. And she was also talking about her own journey about finding friendships at her age, because I think she moved and she had to form new friendships. And she was talking about a few lies or perceptions that we have about friendships. So I wanted to go through that and just discuss our thoughts over the ones that she was talking about is like the lies that she sees in friendship. So, first one, the lie is thinking that everyone's life is a party. So, what she meant by that is just thinking like you look on social. Is this one's very skewed for social because you see the stories or people's posts and they're always out hanging with a big group of friends or whatever, and it makes you feel like you need a lot of friends. So that's a lie that she was saying, because either you get FOMO or you're like, why didn't I get invited? Or I need to find more friends.
What she said for that point is quite true because I have been sucked into that before in my lifetime.
I'm sure we all have at
Yeah.
one point.
And here's an example. There was a group of friends who always, I think the group of friends was maybe a size of 10 or 12.
Mm.
Anyway, they're like a bunch of really good friends, but every time they would always post on social media when they catch up, and they always celebrate each other's birthdays, which is great. Anyway, Long story short is
Anyway.
long story short is every time that they would post for someone's birthday, they always buy each other gifts. And it's not just regular gifts, it's fucking expensive gifts.
Well, like Chanel, LV.
Yeah, they like pull together and buy each other like an expensive branded thing or whatever it is, like cash or fuck, I don't know, what anything that's expensive.
Cash, damn.
Yeah, so I used to see that and I'd be like, fuck, that's the kind of friendship that I want. Not because of the money, not because of the lavish spending or whatever it is. To me, what I valued was more about the the gathering together and celebrating like each other's birthday.
Yeah, just remembering the important milestones for each other.
Yeah. So at one point I was like, fuck, my friendships, we got to do this. And in reality it's more so, well, everyone's got their own fucking lives. They're all busy, you know what I mean? So it's very difficult to align time together all where we can be together.
Yeah.
That was the reality.
Yeah. Well, it was a really good point that she brought up. She's like, yeah, there are certain things that you want, but it's also being flexible, which is, I guess, that's where you ended up, is being flexible. Like, you do want to be able to celebrate the milestones, but flexible in a way that if people are busy, can't make it, then that's fine. Next time, let's try and get together again. So she did say that was a point, is just thinking about it. And also, I think is being grateful and understanding and treasuring what you have in your current friendship. Like, you might not have a friendship where you come together every birthday, but when you have gatherings, you still have a really good time and you can have deep conversations as well. And you uncover a lot with the conversations that you have with them.
Yeah.
That other people might not be able to have.
That was exactly what she was kind of demonstrating there is that's what I had to realize. Is to be flexible with your friends.
Because social is probably only showing the glamorous times. I know that there are people or influencers who do show and be vulnerable about some of the bad times that they have, but most of the people that go on social media are just sharing the happy times and just sharing the good moments, which is all good.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome that they're having a great time.
Yeah.
But don't compare yourself to them, is what she was trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah.
And then another important point that she said, this one is really on you, like how you like friendships and what type of friendship you want. So if you want a party, you throw one yourself. So don't expect your friends to always throw one. And then if you don't get one, you get FOMO. But like, I don't have friends or I don't get to go to parties. If you really want one, throw your own party.
Yeah. And it's like the same thing as just hanging out with your mates. It's a two-way street. Like, if you want to hang out, organize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to put the effort into it to continue to have that gathering with your friendships. And, it's not going to always happen every single time.
Which falls back onto the flexibility. Yeah, your friends might be able to organize it every now and then you might organize some as well. But then also being understanding that not every time you can organize it. And if you had like a few months where you haven't gone out, you haven't been able to organize any, or your friends haven't been able to organize any, think why. Like, maybe because they've got a lot on and you've got a lot on, and just understanding that.
Yeah.
So the other one that was backed by research, I don't know what it was. I would need to link it down in the links below. But in reality, you don't actually need a lot of friends. I think this is something that we've come to realize as you kind of mature over time. It's not about the quantity.
It's the quality. Yeah, I think we covered this in a previous episode about friendships, like broadly. But I 100% resonate with this because in my earlier years and days, I used to have a massive group of friends. And I'm talking like 40, 50. And, quantity was always what I thought was true. So, you think the more friends that you've got, the better you feel as a community, as a gathering, as a group. As I grew older and as I matured, I realized that, everyone's different. All the guys or girls that hanging around with, they're all different characters in their own right. And as they mature, they change. So you realize that, you're going to probably cater and gather towards more of a niche group that you really resonate with, which is what I did. And it was realistically from 40 to 50 guys to realistically maybe like 3 or 4 that I really fuck with now.
Yeah.
And that's my life lesson is, it's not about the quantity. It's really comes down to your quality.
Nah, I totally agree with that. And I think for me, it's also that. And I have a lot of friends where I just have a lot of individual friends that I hang out with, and it's harder for me to hang out in a group in terms of just being able to talk and catch up properly and do all that. So I find that having quality over quantity is definitely better in terms of forming better connections.
Yeah, and it's very hard to if you got a relatively medium sized group, it's hard to align everyone to come together because
Yeah, at
everyone's
this stage
timetables.
now too.
Yeah, everyone's got their own commitments, you know what I mean? And
Like
it's hard.
family,
Yeah.
work, traveling, whatever it is.
Yeah.
One thing that she said that forms off the back of this too, she said, all you really need is just that one 4 a.m. friend. This got me thinking. And she said that 4 a.m. friend is just that someone where it's not about life or death situation, like your car broke down or someone's in your house and you call them. Like you probably have a few friends that you can call and help you, and they're happy to come and help you. But this is something where, say, you can't sleep, you have this thought that's just running through your mind, and you really want to run it by someone or have someone that can support you at that point in time. All you really need is just to have that one person that you feel like would have your back if you do need to call them at 4 a.m. in the morning.
I don't think I've ever had a situation where I had to call.
No, but I think it's less of the reality of saying if you have done it or not, but it's just that you have a close enough friend where you both understand that if you really needed to call at that point in time where you really have this thought you can't get out of your head or you want to bounce ideas, not saying that it's like, hey, I can't figure out my designs and I don't know what to do and like trying to call them 4 a.m. It's just that you actually have something
Yeah.
that you're thinking about, maybe a relationship that you just can't get through your head and you really wanted to get someone's opinion or thought, you have that friend that you both mutually be like, it's okay if I called you at 4 a.m. Like they won't be like, what the hell? Why are you calling
Well,
me at 4
I
a.m.?
mean, like literally, if you're calling someone at 4, I mean, if they got commitments and stuff like that, you got to be considerate of that.
Yeah, obviously you're not going to be doing that every
It's like, hey,
night, but this is
man.
like when you really need to,
Yeah.
you have someone. Do you think you have someone that you can call at 4 a.m.?
Look, I think I probably do, but I would probably feel real bad because 4 a.m. and I understand all my mates have commitments and whatnot. So, I would probably call someone not at 4 a.m., probably like earlier, maybe like 12 or something like that. I think I'm more mindful when it comes
Yeah,
to
I
that.
don't think it literally means 4 a.m.
Just
Like, it's
calling
just
someone.
like at a random
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah, yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you?
You? I just roll over and be like, hey. Like, I honestly, like, outside of the joke, I literally would probably turn to you and ask. Like, if I really couldn't sleep and I'm thinking about something and it's really keeping me up, I probably would ask you.
Well, I think you have done it, but not at 4 a.m.
I told you, it's not literally 4 a.m. Way to ruin the vibe. This next one that she also had was this lie of friendship, and it's around people don't like me. So this one I really resonate with. I did bring this up in the conversation with Jen as well, the human design episode that we had. And this is some insecurity I've always had in my mind. I don't know if it's from upbringing, it could be. In the most recent years, I have understood or seen myself go into this pattern where if I'm at an event or a party or something where I'm talking to someone who's fairly new that I don't really know, I cut the conversation really short. So I do genuinely want to get to know someone. I ask them questions or something like that. And really quickly, I'll be like, oh, I'll let you go, do your thing. Like, I noticed that they were doing something, I'll be like, oh, I better let you go. And sometimes there's been these cases where it looked like they're about to say something. I'm like, oh shit, I just cut the conversation really short. And that's because I feel so bad in wasting their time, or I feel like now I'm boring them, or
Your time's not valuable.
yeah, like I personally feel like I'm wasting their time. And I've done that so many times, but I've noticed that in the most recent years. But I know that ever since I was young, this is always what I was like. But back then, I probably didn't notice it. So this really resonated with me, and I've personally been trying to work on it. And part of it is just actually having a conversation and giving them time to reply. Whereas, like, sometimes I feel like I don't give them enough time, like the breathing space, and I'm like, okay, I better let you go, and then like just cut the conversation.
That's an interesting experience there.
Yeah, I've seen or heard about it, so I think it's quite common in a
Yeah.
lot of people.
I'm sure it is very, very common that people do go through that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all, you're self-conscious, you know what I mean? You're not confident in yourself in some way in form, or whatever that's affecting you is making you feel that way. For me, I don't think I felt that ever.
Mm. That's the thing that I appreciate about you, because I learned a lot in terms of watching how you talk to people. And no matter who it is, like CEO, manager, a friend, or an acquaintance, or a random, you are exactly the same across all people. And I can definitely tell that you don't really think about whether or not you're wasting the time or whatever it is. Like, you're just asking questions, and if the conversation flows, you just keep talking.
I don't know, like I just treat everyone the same. Everyone's time is valuable, no doubt. But if someone genuinely didn't really vibe with you, well, one, you're gonna feel it from their body language, how they're acting or how they're reacting. But at the same time, they're probably going to do whatever it takes to get out of the conversation as well. So they're going to be giving you short answers. They're going to try and like get out of the they're trying to get the fuck out.
No,
you
this
know?
is kind of funny because our cousin, well, my cousin actually, stayed over us, and she was telling us this story about her husband. He can't read the room, and apparently, when he just keeps talking and having conversations, which is awesome. He's like the best person to talk to, and it's so funny. But he can't read body language where people are trying to leave. So apparently, there's been times where they're like, "Okay, sorry, I gotta run," and he'll keep talking, and you literally have to pull him away from the conversation. I just thought of that when it was funny. But Mel Robbins also brought up a study that I think UCLA or Harvard University did. And there's actually a term for this, and it's called the liking gap. I'll just read the definition because I don't want to butcher it. So, the liking gap is the difference between how much people think others like them versus how much others actually like them. So that's literally what I do. Is my perception is always the thought where I'm wasting people's time, or they don't want to talk to me, or I'm not good enough to talk to them. But there's actually a gap between your thoughts as opposed to what they really think about you.
Mm,
And then the article found that after people had conversations, people constantly underestimated how much their conversation partners liked them, which is really true because I think most of my conversations, as much as I feel like I'm wasting their time, I don't think there's ever been much of an experience where people are like, that was such a shit conversation.
yeah, that's true.
So I think it's a common thing because the study happened. So obviously there'd be a whole wide of people who are feeling in the same boat. Why this happens is because the other person that you're talking to, they actually don't show less expression than you expected to show that they actually enjoyed the conversation. So they're trying to keep their cool and trying to listen to you. And because they've kept that cool, you're kind of like on that self-doubt side where you're like,
You can't
okay,
read it properly.
yeah.
You're a bit.
Yeah, it kind of skews that, and it's just like your self-confidence, self-doubt, a few other things that kind of influences this. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up that there actually is a term for this, is the
Yeah.
liking gap.
That's pretty interesting because I think one way to relate to this is in interviews. When you have a job interview, for an example, you know how when you meet someone first time and then they don't really give you much, whether it's feedback on
They're
how
trying
they,
to keep their cool.
yeah, they have just feedback in terms of how they talk to you, their body language, and they're just real closed. And then you complete the interview, and then afterwards you get a really great feedback. Where they're like, "Yeah, I like this guy because this guy is showing this and demonstrating this, blah blah blah." And you're like, "Oh shit, I did not realize that." Because in that moment, you're like, "Okay, this dude is not giving me shit.
Yeah.
I ain't feeling nothing. I can't sniff nothing." You know what I mean?
I think they have the
Yeah.
best poker face.
Yeah, like hectic poker face, and you're just like, damn, like you don't know how you're
Mm,
doing. That's another example of that, the liking gap.
yeah.
And I think back in the days, I used to, in high school,
Knees weak, arms are heavy, mom's spaghetti.
yeah, pretty much, mate. You got it fucking right, man. Fucking Miss Eminem there, eh? Definitely in the early years, I think I used to always think about, oh shit, do I fit in here? Do they like me?
Yeah. I think me now, as in today, I still battle with that, but the battle in my head now is like, just be yourself. And if they really don't like you, one, you feel it, or two, they would say something about it, or three, you've done what you could and you've tested it, rather than cutting conversations short, which cuts your opportunity in building a bond. Like you could have built a bond either with someone, like a new friendship, a new coach, a new mentor, but you're killing, well, I'm killing my own opportunities by cutting conversation short. So you should just be yourself, do what you can, have a genuine conversation. And if they truly didn't like it, you've had that conversation, now you know.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's my thought now. And it's always a constant battle because these thoughts still float into my mind, but I'm battling by saying, it's fine. You are just being you. And if this applies to other things. Like if people don't like you, then they don't like you. You
Yeah.
can't
Exactly
help
right.
that,
Yeah.
right? Not trying to quote Mel Robbins this whole episode. It was also a quote that she found. This definitely brought a really good perspective for me. You could be a whole package, but if you deliver it to the wrong address, it's not going to work. So that person isn't going to accept you, even if you're the best package. Like you've got the whole package, but you're at the wrong address, right?
It's a powerful quote because it can be applicable in other ways as well. How does that relate to finding the right friendships?
Because you can be all these things, and it's just understanding and appreciating yourself, right? You yourself can be the best person, you've got good morals, best values, but if someone else doesn't align with that, you can't help that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly right. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask in terms of your opinion, because I think you have really good ways of forming bonds and friendships and boundaries with other people. How do you form healthy boundaries with your friends?
Having boundaries and the fact that, look, you've got your own personal life, you have your own commitments, you have your own lane that you need to follow, and setting the right time and the right place where friendships can come in when you need to obviously spend time with them when it's the right time to catch up. So it's having that clear separation of the two, understanding that everyone is different, but still keeping your friendship as part of your life. That is the most important thing.
Yeah. Going off the back of that, I would say that I'm very loyal to friendships, but I'm so loyal to the point that it's impeding onto how I see friendships, which is my own fault. The boundaries that you said is good, having life outside of those friends, because when I'm gonna, let's say I've formed like a really good friend, like found a best friend, I feel like I should be inviting them to everything. Like say I'm going somewhere, it's like, oh hey, do you want to come? Or there's this event, hey, do you want to come? And then if I don't invite them, I kind of feel bad, or I'm like, oh, now they're gonna think that I'm not including them, or they won't like me, or something like that. But it's this understanding again, the boundaries. Like sometimes you can do things outside of that friendship.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think those boundaries are good, and it's just understanding that they don't need to come to everything that you're doing. Like you can talk to them about it, be like, hey, I went to this today,
Yeah,
or
you can share your
yeah,
experiences and shit like that.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But, like, sometimes I just feel bad. I'm like, "Oh, should I invite them?" And if I don't, I'm like, "Oh, now I feel like I've just abandoned them or
Nah,
just
fuck
did them
that.
dirty," or something like that.
Nah.
Yeah, so that's one
Yeah.
boundary I think that's good. And the most important thing that I've learned over the years, just like any romantic relationship, is just to completely be open. Open in terms of the good things, but also the bad things. I
Yeah,
think the thing
100%.
that I used to do is just I didn't open up about the bad things because one, you don't want to offend them, or two, you don't know how they feel, but it's fine because if it did trigger a disagreement, you're talking about it rather than covering it up.
That applies for anything and everything, I feel. I think with friendships, especially because there's always going to be miscommunication, there's always going to be misinterpretation through freaking text or through how you're talking, right? In real life, face to face. And I think it's very, very important to have that open transparency. You know what I mean? To have the friendship where you can sit down and say, hey man, this is what's happened for today. This is how I interpreted it. This is what it made me feel. And I'm telling you this because, you're my friend and I appreciate your relationship.
And one good example where I let this go too far is I did have a really, really good friend. We were so close. We just did everything together, like went everywhere together. And all the good things were definitely amazing. And she was a really good friend. She was very supportive. But this is like our growing up years when you're more fiery, like you get angry or pissed off really easily over some really small things.
Yeah.
And because we were open in a way that we would vent to each other about certain situations. But then you know how you're so angry, you let that bleed into the friendship. So you kind of start swearing at them, or you start yelling at them and things like that. And that was for both of us. We both did that. And it went on for a long time. So we didn't talk about it, and we kind of mutually kind of just stopped replying if they got angry. So it's kind of like, I'll let you have your space. But we didn't talk about why are we doing this or why are we talking in that manner until it got to the point where it was unbearable. We're like, okay, we gotta stop talking to each other like this. And we finally had a chat. But I think that's an example where we could have stopped that earlier on, like when we first leashed out at each other for no reason, be like, whoa, where did that come from? Whereas back then we just let it go, just let it be. And
Shovel it under the shit rug.
so that did damage the friendship a little bit, but it could have been avoided.
Yeah, it's very important to just be open and transparent when it comes to that conversation. You know what I mean? I had an experience last night, just catching up with someone, and it's just having a deep conversation about how we felt about certain situations, scenarios, and whatnot. And I was just saying, like, it's just important to have those genuine, deep conversations where it's like, hey, this could be taken as feedback, but it's not feedback where it's a negative connotation or a positive connotation. It's just, hey, this is what friendships should be like, where we can sit here and go,
In
hey,
your point of view,
in my
right?
point of view,
Yeah.
like, this is how I feel. And it's good to have that back and forth communication where you're open. You can have that conversation together. And I think it's really important to have.
And that's why I said it was a green flag, is the non-judgmental part, because that's your opinion on how you like to form friendships, and people aren't going to judge you for how you see that, unless it's probably something that's like very not moral or something, like the values don't align. But if it's only like just some small things that you prefer as opposed to what they prefer, at least they're open to understand and be like, oh yeah. And then that way you can form deeper friendships, because now you understand each other and where your boundaries are and where their boundaries are.
Even if it was something like a feedback based on something I did, or an action that was not seen as like a good thing to do, you can still have those honest like conversations. You can still be like, hey man, this was wrong because of this. And it's just having that respectful conversation.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And like on top of that, it's just be open to take that feedback as well. You can't always give people feedback and then
Not
you
be able
can't
to take it
receive
100%.
You know, like if I honestly did something wrong, I do expect my friends to be like, well, that was not cool. Like, why'd you do that? Like, obviously not with like a judgmental, condescending thing, but it's like, hey, that was,
that was a little bit too harsh.
Like a bit too harsh, bit too rude. Like, I didn't understand where that came from. Like, is there something going wrong? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Then next time you grow a deeper understanding on why things happen.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That leads to communication, which I think that applies to everything: friendship, romantic relationships, and yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So in a nutshell, do you think overall it's harder to form friendships in your adulthood?
I think from the start of what we initially started with, I think it's yes and no. Yes, it is harder in the fact that you have a higher expectation. You know what I mean? You set a higher...
There are things that you look for.
Yeah, you have your set requirements, if you want to call it that, or your green flags, and you have higher like red flags.
I want to say higher. It's just that you do know where are your green flags and where are your red flags.
Yeah. It's like your I guess
boundaries, which is what we're talking
about.
Yeah.
Your boundaries is like just you set expectations, right? And it's easier now at the same time because you know how to communicate, you know how to talk to people, you know how to read people, you know what I mean? So you can gauge, you can filter the positive and the negative quickly. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And that's the end of our episode. I think we've covered a lot in this one, but we're really curious to hear what you think as well. Do you think it's harder to find friends in your adult era?
Yeah.
And if you do, let us know. If you don't, also let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Hey, because I think, I don't think there's a right or wrong. Everyone's different. And thanks for joining us once again. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Goodbye.
Peace.